Aquileia in Friuli Venezia Giulia region is one of the largest and wealthiest cities of the early Roman Empire. Unfortunately, it was destroyed by Attila in the mid-5th century. Most of it still lies unexcavated beneath the fields, and as such, it constitutes the greatest archaeological reserve of its kind. The Patriarchal Basilica, an outstanding building with an exceptional mosaic pavement, played a key role in the evangelization of a large region of Central Europe. However, today, Aquileia UNESCO site faces real threats due to climate crisis. The site is affected by weather and climate-related impacts, and scientists are investigating the connections between different hazards, from sea level rise, heavy rains, and groundwater level. Most of Aquileia's area is already below sea level. Embankments prevent lagoon water ingression, and several water pumps keep the area dry. Some water pumps are specifically devoted to protecting some of the deepest archaeological excavations. When heavy rains occur, some parts of the site can be flooded, including the basilica, especially when at the same time, sea storm surges impede pluvial water discharge. Sea level rise will exacerbate these problems as groundwater level will rise too, and it will become even more difficult to protect the excavations. The mosaics, for example the ones at the basilica's bell towers foundations, from water-related damages. There are also other climate-related impacts, such as heat waves affecting the archaeologists at the site, tourists, or school groups visiting the site. But did you know that cultural heritages under UNESCO protection are not the only thing under severe threat from the climate change? Complexes of shallow wetlands, such as the MARANO and GRADO lagoon, are facing significant threats. The MARANO and GRADO are placed between the ISONZO and TAGLIAMENTO river mouths in Upper Adriatic Sea. They are extending for about 32 kilometers and reaching up to 5 kilometers width. More than 16,000 are the hectares of canals, tidal flats, salt marshes, islands, and estuarine areas. The MARANO and GRADO lagoon is one of the largest and the most characterizing Natura 2000 sites of the Friuli Venezia Giulia region. The protected habitats, as coastal lagoons, gray and white dunes, mudflats, and sandflats, cover about the 85% of the lagoon. Moreover, other typical transitional habitats, as Mediterranean salt meadows and seagrass beds, are well represented. Estuarine areas, largely present at the mouth of the River Stella, are close to the typically lagoon habitats. Also, did you know that the diversity of habitats is linked with great bird species richness and a diversification in bird communities? Over 300 bird species have been observed, many of which are particularly protected. The MARANO and GRADO lagoon is the most important migrating and wintering area in Italy for the Eurasian curlew, the great plover, the greater scaup, and the bar-tailed godwit. The lagoon is also frequented by other typical marine animals, such as the loggerhead turtle. Today, the lagoon hosts economic, tourist, and industrial services which continue to produce a high degree of anthropization in the surrounding territories.
This is amazing, but I'm afraid that these lagoons will face huge problems due to climate crisis.
Well, sea level rise is affecting GRADO and MARANO lagoon in many ways. The physical environment is being transformed, and some habitats and species are being reduced and are at risk of disappearing. Sea level rise increases water depth, which in turn accentuates bottom erosion in the lagoon. Consequently, water does not need to flow through tidal channels, preventing them from being filled in by sediments. And on the other hand, sea level rise increases salt marshes erosion. Silted channels need to be continuously dredged to maintain access for fishermen's boats and in general for navigation in the lagoon, which has always been an important waterway. Increasing salinity is affecting some vegetal and animal species that thrive in less salted waters and that are therefore forced to move or disappear. Apart from sea level rise, also water temperature is rising, and this is a problem for organisms adapted to cooler waters. Changes in the lagoon ecosystem and in the trophic chain can also affect productive activities as fishing and extensive aquaculture valicultura. Some habitats and species could adapt by moving inland as sea level rises, but that's not possible because the lagoon boundaries have been hardened by embankments.
This is a serious problem and great example of what climate change does to our environment and different habitats. We need to tackle the challenges we are facing as soon as possible and make sure that people are aware of their responsibility to protect our nature and ecosystem.
Yes, indeed. You are right. That's why we're here to educate our fellow neighbors, friends, and policymakers to address the biggest threat of our time: climate change.